Croeso nôl, welcome back everyone to the Fearless in Devotion podcast, sponsored by the Fat Boar Group. There's many of them, but we love the original the most, don't we, Liam? The Fat Boar.
That is my absolute favourite. Sat there, it's nice cheesy beer sauce, bit of chips. Bob's your uncle. Yeah. And plus, I just can't recite them all as well as Andrew, so I never want to try and replicate that.
None of us can. I would trip up too much without a doubt. But thank you to them as ever for supporting the podcast. Good news this week in Fearless in Devotion Towers. We have been nominated for an award, haven't we, Tim? The FSA award. Yeah. What does that stand for?
The Football Supporters Association. So that's kind of nice. So somebody out there has nominated us, and we're in the Club Podcast of the Year category against some of the big hitters. Arse Blog, which is the Arsenal lot, obviously.
That's such a great name for a podcast.
No, yeah. I think it's the Blue Moon Podcast, Man City. There's a few more from the Rookery End, I think, which is Watford. And I think there's a Northampton one and a West Brom one. So there's several in there, and it gets voted for by an FSA panel as opposed to a public vote. So whilst we're not expecting to win, to even be nominated is absolutely joyful, and thank you to whoever did that. It's really appreciated, and yeah, it's just nice, isn't it? It's,
so they're going to take one look at our YouTube, see my strobe lighting effect, and go, "We're not giving it to these guys."
So how many people are on this panel, by the way?
I don't know.
Yeah. How much money's in the kitty?
I mean, if it's 4 people and the 3 of them vote, that's a landslide. That is so.
Hey, you never know. I mean, it's quirky, from your likes and my bad singing, and it's all there, isn't it? What else? What more do you want in life?
Right. Before we get started, 2 things. One, newsletter. I am going to share the screen. Nothing is going to possibly go wrong. Right.
Check your emails on show.
Yeah, no, 40 quid for the year. Some really good stuff. We have a good discussion every Wednesday when it comes out. So please do that if you want to.
Is anyone else not seeing anything?
Yeah, I'm not seeing a damn thing.
I had a black screen, mate.
Well, that was seamless as always.
Can't wait for the awards panel to watch this.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see that.
Andy was catering for the audio public then. Andy was just catering for them a bit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's what shared screens are for. Spotify.
Right. I've been through the stock, and we've got a bit of stock of fanzine left. I will send you all 3 of them. It's a set. Tells the story of us getting out of non-league, culminating in that one, which is really good. It's got Rob and Ryan interview. I'll send you them for free. All you need to do is pay the postage. So if you want to email me at andrewgilpin@hotmail.com and PayPal or whatever.
Sign him up to porn.
Yeah. But I've just let's get them out there. Let's get them out there. If it's America, I'll send it out there. It'll probably cost you about, I don't know, $15, something like that. But they're good collector's items. So if you want any of those, just email me and I'll send them out to you.
Fantastic! What an offer, guys! What an offer! Look, let's get on with the game. I mean, back to winning ways after the. Did we discuss Harrogate? Yes, we did. Forgive me. I lost what week it was then. I was at a wedding all weekend, so I'm very confused. Back to winning ways. Not the greatest performance. Felt like maybe we got away with one, Andy.
Right. Some matches you just know you're going to lose. And Harrogate away was one of those that I could tell after about 20 minutes, whatever we do here, we're going to lose it. Other matches, I've just got a feeling in your bones you're going to win. And I think Mansfield was one of those. I think they came close a lot. They hit the bar at least once, maybe twice. But I always just had in the back of my feeling that we'd get over the line, and we did. And I think there were some pretty good performances. I know we're going to come and discuss him a little bit later on, but James McClean, I thought, did really well in the last, really showing the experience in the last sort of 20, 25 minutes. And I also think...
You've changed your tune?
Well, I'll praise if need be.
Yeah. Why don't you marry him?
Okay. Well,
Think
about marrying
You're about to say someone else.
Is McClean a first name somewhere in the world? Just while we're on it.
Sorry.
Is McClean a first name somewhere in the world? Just while we kick the ass out.
No, probably. No. Sounds American.
Right. Who else? Who else?
Some sort of sheriff in the Midwest.
McClean Smith. That's terrible. I can't. Sorry, everyone.
But and I also thought Dan Scar was great, and I thought Arthur had a great game. I thought we were very good defensively. I think Dobson was a little bit off the boil.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he?
But
And I'd like him to put
some
misplaced passes.
Yeah, you're going to get that. And I just think it was a thoroughly professional, workmanlike 1-0. And I just felt in my bones that as soon as we took the lead through a great shot from Barney, it'd be great if he could do more of that, have that more in his locker.
It was a great finish, wasn't it? He's obviously
everything.
We don't see it very often
at the moment. Just his dancing feet. If he can now put into the defense right, so he could go past me, but he could also cut inside and twat one in. That's going to have defenders' brains scrambled. He just becomes more and more of a threat if you add that to his locker. So fair play to Barney. I just thought after we scored, I just didn't think we'd lose the game, and it's very rare for me to think that.
Speaking of solid and workmanlike performances, Liam, what did you make of the game?
Well, for starters, I think Barney scored because he was at my end of the pitch, and we always give him lots of encouragement from PG2. So there's an inevitability about that. In terms of the way it went, it was a tight game, and we rode our luck. But I do think that luck has a habit of evening itself out over the course of a season. You get a situation like the last-minute Charlton penalty. We had the chalked-off goal against Harrogate. And then sometimes it goes your way, like it did yesterday. We were, at times, I didn't like the way we kept losing possession quite a lot, playing it back to Mansfield. But I do think some of the substitutions did actually help towards the end. Rathbone came on, got his foot in, and he was actually winning the ball on a couple of occasions in midfield. I thought John Daddy Badvarson also put in a good shift when he came on as well. And like Andy said, I just had the feeling that it was going to be our day for once. Just trying to think if there's any other standout performers. I mean, Barnett's probably the most obvious one. Mullin, I think I was glad he's actually still getting into goal scoring positions. He might not be putting them in, but if he wasn't getting in those positions like he used to, then I'd be a bit more worried. But I'm still confident.
It's a good save, to be fair, wasn't it? I know he didn't get a corner for it, but on the replay, it looked like a solid save, so it wasn't a bad effort on the wrong side. I don't think it was a gimme chance. He got a decent shot off on target. Can't complain. Timothy, anything stand out for you? Ollie Palmer, again, I mean, solid, wasn't he? Because he set up the goal, winning the header. He just keeps putting performances week after week.
I think he's kind of adapted his game. Now, there's a lot of people saying that he's not scoring that many goals, this, that, and the other. But I just think he's a very different type of player now in his more advancing years. He's kind of reminds me of a little bit like Steve Watkin, the perfect foil for the strike partner, which has always almost been the case for Mullin anyway. But I just think he seems to be more comfortable adding that more to his game rather than just going all out for goals. He knows he's such a big unit and you can't brush him off the ball easily. So I just think he's kind of reveling in that now. There's less pressure on him to really chip in with maybe that's too many goals. I don't know, but I thought he was good. I thought he was really, really good. And yeah, somebody said on the social medias before, were you surprised that Barnett didn't pass to Mullin? Is that like a damning indictment of where he is? I don't think so. Whichever way you look at it, Mullin's kind of like almost maybe taking the defenders a little bit because they're more concerned with him. If they did put it into that channel, it's still got to finish it, I guess. But I think on the whole, it was a fortunate performance. I'll be honest. I know we've pulled out quite a few positives, but I think if we have the same lapses in concentration as we did against Mansfield on another day, we will get heavily punished for it because we made several uncharacteristic errors. I think we kind of grew into the game, and no doubt Parky said a few words at halftime to say, look, you need to be more composed. We were fortunate. We scored against the run of play. Mansfield are a very, very good team. So it's another kind of yardstick of where we're at. And I think Lady Luck was on our side, no doubt about it. I've looked at that penalty appeal back. I mean, people saying he should be getting the ball out from under his feet. It was Gregory, wasn't it? Really good player for them. Arthur kind of closes the gap. I don't think he's going to fire that past Arthur anyway, but the minute you put your hand up and put it into somebody's smaller back, the minute you run the risk of conceding a penalty. And I think Dan Scarr was very, very fortunate to get away with that. I saw it at the time. I thought, he's, because there's a couple of occasions where they got behind us, with their pace. And what I saw in Mansfield is what I think we still lack up top, which is just sheer frightening pace. We've got the pace in the flanks for the most part. I wanted to see a bit more from Mendy when it came on. I just thought he looked a little bit reticent. I don't know whether that
he's going to build back into the season, isn't he?
Yeah, of course he is. I just think there's a couple of occasions where just attack the space. We know he's got the pace. We know he's got the ability, and I think maybe he's just one of those classic confidence players where it'll build with time. But on the whole, I thought it was really, really high quality game of football, regardless of the referee trying to spoil it with some beltingly bad decisions for both teams.
On the Barnett thing, I mean that I hadn't seen that argument. That's a bit nuts, isn't it? I mean, Popula sees goal and takes a shot. Shock. Anyway, we are going to discuss it because. Sorry, Tim, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just think just a quick one on Barnett. I know we discussed it previously, where rumours have been circulating about the likes of Stoke and a few of the clubs interested in Barney. But I genuinely think, even though we've not experienced a player leaving us to go to pastures new yet, willingly, for big bucks, I think that if he continues performing the way he is, there will be clubs way, way, way higher up than the Championship looking at him, and maybe right. Yeah, I just can't. He's just adding more to his game more and more, and I think we said before that he's just missing a few goals, and we saw last season that volley against Forest Green and against against these guys on Saturday. I just think he's got it all, and the cross he floated in for Mullins' kind of side swiped volley, it was so on the money, and 9 times out of 10 he'll do that. So I just think we should be slightly concerned that somebody could come in for him, but I don't think he would go anywhere.
One to watch, definitely. We are going to discuss it, even though it's the most boring topic that that's had all the time. But we're the most boring podcast, so let's do it. Liam, why don't you give us a Billy balanced account of what this story is for maybe some of our listeners who don't understand some of the controversy that seems to follow James McClean everywhere he goes when it comes to Remembrance Sunday and Remembrance Weekend in particular.
So basically, a lot of this dates back to, I've been reading a bit about it tonight. 12 years ago was actually the first time that this all kicked off. I think I'm right in saying, was it when he was at West Brom or Sunderland? I can't quite remember, but basically, it's quite a modern thing, really, where teams have started putting poppies on their kits. I think it was around 2010 that they first started doing it. And James McClean took what he says a principled stance not to wear one. And, ever since, I think it's pretty much an annual thing that he gets abuse for it. People say, oh, he's a terrorist sympathizer, etc. But his main reason for doing so is that he was brought up in Derry, where, if you know anything about Irish history and Bloody Sunday, essentially civilians were killed by the British Army. So his argument is that it would be wrong for me to wear that symbol. He said if it was just associated with the First World War and the Second World War, he wouldn't have a problem, because obviously lots of Irish people fought in those wars. But otherwise, he can't wear one, basically. I think just bringing it to yesterday, for me, I just think the way he did it was very non-aggressive. Essentially what he did was stand a yard or two to the side of Elliot Lee. Didn't join in with the other players and put his arm around them, and he didn't wear a poppy armband, which he was never going to. We all knew he wasn't going to do it. This is nothing new, on James McClean's part.
Neither did Tom O'Connor, by the way, but nobody's
okay.
saying anything about that.
That's interesting. I didn't notice that.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Not psychoanalyzing, but yeah, Tom O'Connor didn't have one on. And if you look at the lineup when they're sort of bowing their heads and stuff, Mullins got his hands behind his back, hasn't got his hands around the waist. If you want to psychoanalyze it, because we know how he feels about other aspects. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I just thought I'd chuck that in there.
No, it's yeah, like you say, that went very unnoticed, and I felt like there was an undercurrent yesterday where I saw that some Mansfield fans had printed off stickers before the game with a picture of McClean and a poppy calling him whatever it was, and they were boasting they were going to plaster it all around the town about how much they hate him. I just felt like they were basically waiting for him to do something, anything, before, and then they were chanting, he's a wanker after it. And I don't know about anyone else, but that in itself is a bit disrespectful. They barely waited seconds after the minute silence was over, and then they start chanting something like that. I mean, that just, for me, remembrance is about dignity and things like that. And there's not a lot of dignity in people doing that a couple of seconds after a minute silence is finished. So I had no problems with how he conducted himself yesterday whatsoever.
Andy, the issue often in this sort of yearly debate is that tabloid hacks and people who run websites
I knew you were going to come and
like the one that you helped to edit will draw attention to these things and make them sound more dramatic than they are. I mean, that's quite frustrating, isn't it? That was obviously a joke, but as in, it's the same old annual argument that happens because people can see a chance to get some clicks, essentially, don't they?
I mean, yeah, and I'll be honest, our paper did the story yesterday, but I was sure to do it in a balanced way, to say, look, this is what he feels about not wearing a poppy. We included some quotes from James in where he discussed it, and we just showed the facts. The fact that he didn't link arms, but he was there in a dignified way. The reason we do it is because people discuss it and people talk about it, and people, if we stopped doing it, it wouldn't stop social media still going in on James or anything like that. So I think it is important to sort of represent that. I think if you do it in a factual way like we did, I think that's fine. People can make up their own minds whether they're affected by this and whether it really sort of means something to them. But I mean, I was looking at the comments on our Facebook page after we posted the article, and I would say probably about 70% were supporting James. Sort of saying,
that's interesting.
Yeah, and there was a few sort of, I hate him, he always does this. But then if you go through those profiles, you sort of get a picture of that who that person is. But a lot of people just went, look, it's his choice. He's done it. I think, Liam talked about dignity there, and I think he did it in a very dignified way. He didn't turn his back. He was just there slightly to the side with his arms down. And I think that's fine. The other thing you've got to think about with the Mansfield is James he's got history with Mansfield from last season where they nearly came together when he was going down the wing and he took a lot of abuse. Remember that, Tim? It's been heightened a little bit for Mansfield fans. That
just to add to what you said then about the kind of response he's had, I put his Instagram post because he put quite a long Instagram post up today, and go and view it. There's no point in reading it out because it just says everything that you'd want or expect him to say about it. But I put it on the FiD X account before, just thought I might get like 100 likes or whatever, and did prompt a little bit of reaction, and it's had 210,000 views, and the large majority of people replying are very much in favour, even like fans from other clubs as well who kind of can understand it. So it's not gonna win over and convince everybody. I think the post he's put out does give a greater understanding. I was very naive to his stance many years ago, probably 2 or 3 years before he joined this club. I had no reason to kind of delve into it, and that's kind of like the suppose the ignorant excuse, I guess. So having got a greater understanding of it, there's no qualms from me at all.
No, I think it's fair to say, or we probably should say as well, that James has done a couple of things in the past that I think he himself has apologized for that went too far, and I think that some people probably would struggle to forgive him for, which is why it can get heated. But we should take the heat out of things because we're just measured people, aren't we? And we're a measured fan base.
I mean, the one thing that gets leveled about him is, if you love Ireland so much, why are you taking the English money? Which is it's nonsense,
it's silly, isn't it?
That's also the fact he was born in Derry, so that is in Northern Ireland, so it's the same bloody money anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
But also, I think if you're a really good sportsman, you can't stay in one country because you don't want.
Yeah, it's a silly argument. It's the same thing you ever get whenever Wrexham are in the news about something or someone's complained about something. It's like, oh, well, just join the Welsh League then. It's just a silly, reductive argument. Wait, good win, back to winning ways, happy days. And the Wrexham AFC women also progressed into the next round of the Gennaro Adran Trophy. So good news for them. As we've discussed, finding it more difficult in the league this year. So great to see them progressing in the cup. And also time now, I think. Oh yeah, what's this in the agenda? Welcome to Roxham. Who wants to talk to us about that, Tim?
Yeah, Roxom FC. I can't remember what league they're in, but they're based down in Norfolk. They've started ramping up a quite savvy social media campaign, which basically says "Welcome to Wroxham." It's exactly the same font as the "Welcome to Wrexham" campaign. They're pretty sure that they're not going to be in a lawsuit. I think it's going to be taken in the spirit it should be taken. So basically, they're doing like a mini documentary series, which is going to be available on YouTube, I think Friday, I want to say. I think it's 15th it's out. So I just think it's quite a clever little social media campaign they've done. Plastered a load of posters and stickers with QR codes in and around the race course on the massive posters covering the bus stop right outside the entrance to the tech end. So a very clever marketing campaign from them. And yeah, there's been a lot of calls and clamour for Wrexham and Wroxham to play each other in a friendly. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. It should be good, and why not? Why not? I think it's
good for them.
It's good that they shine a spotlight on them and kind of riding the coattails of the cultural phenomenon that is Welcome to Wrexham. So good luck to them, and let's see what happens. Keep an eye out. We might decide to get those guys on in future just to discuss it. So interesting stuff.
It's quite a well-designed campaign, I thought, wasn't it, Andy?
Yeah, quite. It took me a little bit. Have they got a pub called the Torf? Is that
Jeez,
very
you just think
good.
of that now?
And that's why the Daily Star pay him the big bucks.
Oh no.
Yeah, fair play. No, I mean it reminds me of the thing that oh Christ, what's his name? Dorking.
Dorking.
Yeah, I mean that's had a hell of a sort of relationship. It's nice that if you can sort of get people involved in your non-league club by slightly different means using the social media, like hashtag FC and things like that. I mean that's how a lot of young people sort of access their football and really get a sort of an enjoyment for a club. So yeah,
what's a hashtag?
What's a hashtag?
Is that what you just said?
I know you're a dad now, Rhys, but it's not like you.
That's what young people are doing these days. Is they use QR codes for newsletters.
Yeah,
they're in the Isthmian League North Division. And they play at Trafford Park, and their nickname is the Yachtsman. So there we are.
Cool.
That's a great nickname.
Yeah, it is.
The Yachtsman.
Fantastic. Right, it's time for everyone's favourite time of the week. Oh, I've even got a special thing for it. Where is it? Here it is. It's time for Randall's Roundup.
Uh-oh.
Well, did everyone hear that bell?
No.
No, I can't hear that at all.
How can you not hear that? It's not. Can you hear it? Is it like a dog whistle? Is there like loads of dogs in the local area?
Right. For the avoidance of doubt, I'm trying to ring a bell. It's not going very well.
Can you hear that bell? Can you hear the bell?
I could hear the bell.
How can we not hear the bell? We can hear it.
Hang on. Right. Everyone be quiet. No one say a word.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
What's going on?
I'll tell you why it doesn't work. I can't quite know the full ins and outs, but one of the technical guys who help run the live events said that there's certain frequency. I can't remember what it is now, but it doesn't pick up sound. It's when I try to do some Book of Okonkwo stuff via my phone or something, it wouldn't pick it up. So I was just doing.
And that's why we've been nominated for
Ringless Club Podcast of the Year.
Right. Ding ding. Time for Randall's Roundup. Liam, what have you got to tell us, to share us this week from your workings as a reporter on the mean streets of Wrexham?
So we've got some bit of business news on the Wrexham Lager front. Obviously, I think last week now we heard that Rob and Ryan had bought a majority stake in Wrexham Lager, with Eric Allen and his family also involved. So in the last sort of week, we started to see some changes on the board of Wrexham Lager, with a few of the old faces stepping away and Rob and Ryan installing their own people. So Eric Allen is now a director, as is James Wright, who's the Wrexham Lager CEO. But interestingly, Rob and Ryan have made appointments from both of their own companies, Maximum Efforts and More Better. So Richard Engelberg, who's got quite a big background in marketing. He was with Vistaprint, I think, while they were one of our sponsors, Backer Shirt sponsors. Also been with Converse and Nike and people like that. And then Caroline Hutchinson from Rob's side of things. So just an interesting insight on that. Also, much to Tim's chagrin, I gave column inches to our bitter, hated rivals, Rob, Ryan, Red, those two cheeky scamps who raised the debate on the club badge. And it got the usual, it was either sort of, yeah, get rid of the feathers, or it was, how dare you even discuss this, with not much in between.
The problem is that lots of people have those feathers tattooed onto them, don't they? So I would imagine they would argue quite vociferously to keep the feathers as they are.
Can't believe Liam's thrown me under the bus there. I said that in tongue in cheek, like Salty's not even talking to me as it is. He was busy at Charlton, to be fair. He had like a gaggle of people around him, so I just thought,
yeah,
it's not my
he's
fault.
not ignoring you, Tim. I promise.
It's not my fault you hate Nathan. It's just terrible.
An outrageous slur. Fine well I don't hate Nathan. Rich doesn't speak to me, but
I think Nathan's a lovely lad. Anyway, so yeah, the interesting part about it was they weren't saying let's definitely change this badge. They were essentially saying, trying to start a debate. What would it take, for you to want, would you want this debate to take place? And then suddenly it's become everyone wants the badge change. I think they were just saying, there's quite a lot of clubs now who, like Liverpool, have done it where they've got a simplified version of the badge with a single liver bird. And I think I'm right in saying they use it mostly on their digital platforms, and perhaps their third kit. I know a lot of clubs have taken to doing that now. We have a third kit with sort of quite a stylized version, almost a fashion type version of the badge.
More crests, more kits, more money. Have a crest per kit. Have 10 crests.
We've kind of I've put stuff out on the socials in the past, many times about this in the past, and it's kind of met with a large, from my experience, a large proportion of disdain. Like, no, you can't change it. But I understand the need for it. And Ryan, who used to run Shag Magazine, did a really good story, a big, massive blog about it. I'll try and dig it out. It's really, really good, really informative about the imperial feathers and the German writing. So I can understand why there would be a sort of an argument to change it, or at least modernize it. But then it can be bad, it can be good, depending on the design process and what comes from it. But I agree with Liam. I think if they could go down a kind of modernized retro route and go, we'll kind of give some nods to some of the old shirts as a third shirt, but with just the dragon and the ball and the footballs with it. So who knows? We'll see. I don't see them changing it anytime soon. To be perfectly honest, I think we're in the throes of growing the club as a brand, as much as I hate to say that. So why would they suddenly cut their nose off to spite their face now? I just don't see it.
I think you're exactly right there, Tim. I think the badge is quite important to the whole sort of system, and I think if you change that now, it's needless. I'm not saying don't do it 5-10 years down the road, but at the moment, while people are still coming in and picking up on this story, and that badge is quite familiar, I wouldn't change it.
I should just quickly add, from a reporting perspective as well, I did contact the club to see if, is there anything being, would you consider this, but didn't get anything back on it. But I think it's important to reinforce that I think in Rob and Ryan's mission statement, they essentially ruled out any, rebranding of the club's historic assets, I think.
Which you could understand why they would make as a promise. So
absolutely.
It's not something that's likely to change soon, I think it's fair to say. But it'd be interesting to see how that develops. Very quickly, as we have a guest in the waiting room, we have a game on Tuesday night, which we're barely going to discuss because it's in what Tim has called the "we don't really care about it yet" cup. which is what is it called these days, Tim? What's the actual name of it?
Bristol Street Motors.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Bedford
Bristol Street
LDV
Motors
vans.
Trophy.
I'd imagine there'll be lots of changes, won't there?
11. Parky said he's changing the entire thing.
Well, yeah, they've already qualified.
Yeah, well, both have. And I think I suppose that the main question to come out of this is who in those 11 changes, even though we don't know yet, but we can ascertain a fair idea of who's going to be involved. Which one of those players would you like to see really press to be on that team bus for Stockport on Saturdays? Anybody? Matty James is a good shout. He didn't feature in the squad at all, did he, the other day? So I think that would be a solid shout, because I think we still lacked a little bit of control in the midfield area.
Right.
So yeah.
Can I ask a question before we get the guest in? All right, pure and simple. Would you play Mullin on Tuesday just to get him a goal?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Two shorter strikers for my liking. To be risking strikers in a nothing game. But I understand where the motivation comes
from. How about this? You play Pudvartson from the start. You bring Mullin on after, I don't know.
Bring him on when we get a penalty given to us.
Yeah, half an hour
before it's taken.
Bring him on.
He's still going to finish the season in double figures easily.
But let's just get him scoring quicker. He just needs one goal.
Well, he had chances, didn't he? It'll come.
Yeah. He gets that one goal, and we're discussing with Mox in the US about this yesterday. He says, he feels the same as me. Like, absolutely, you get him that one goal. It doesn't matter how it goes in, a penalty or anything like that. Then he won't be snatching at those chances. He'll have that confidence back, and he will go on a run.
Andy, have you offered your services as a motivational psychologist or anything to Mullin yet?
No, because he doesn't need me.
Okay,
because he's probably he's got a professional.
That chap that came on.
Yeah, Sam Katada.
Yeah,
he doesn't need me going. Go on, score a goal.
Just come on for half an hour, Paul. It'll be fine. You won't break your leg.
Friend. I can't wait for him to bang a hat trick and stick his fingers in his ears to shut us all up.
Yeah. Well, either way, Paul is playing great. We love you, Paul. Oh, that's sycophantic, isn't it? Keep at it, Paul. Right, let's get our guest into this. Let's get our guest in, who's just joined us, Russ from the Scarf Bergara Wore podcast, friend of the podcast. How are you?
Evening, all. You okay?
Very well, thank you. Very well. We were just discussing a game that we do not care about, which is Tuesday night's appearance in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. It took us about 90 seconds, and now we're going to discuss the game we do care about, which is the league match on Saturday against Stockport. What is going on with you lads?
What's going on with us? Well, you
5-0 and 5-0. What's going on?
Yeah, well, you've seen the 5-0 against Wickham on Tuesday. We're not, adverse to a good thumping, because Leyton Orient did it to us as well, 4-1 at home a few weeks ago. But we're just on a different path, certainly to you since we last met. We've opted to go young at the start of this season. Our captain's 21, Lewis Bate. So we've invested in young talent, and we've had a lot of those come in, and it's just all a bit up and down. So it could be anything on Saturday. I'm sure we'll get into it a bit more, but yeah, it's just. But then again, absolutely thrash Bolton yesterday, 5-0. They weren't even in it at all. So should be good on Saturday.
So you're not lulling us into a false sense of security. Hopefully not. There's not a grand master plan. It's just chaos, basically.
It's pretty much. Well, I wouldn't say absolute chaos, because I keep on saying this. We're 4 months into a 36th month plan to get to the championship. That's our aim. We've got three years left to do that. 3 seasons left to do it. We've invested in young talent, and it's about getting all that together to make a play for the championship next season or the season after. This season, the club have said, just enjoy the ride, and that's what we're going to do. So it could go either way. Depends who turns up for us. There are some players that are really, really key to it. There's some missing as well. I'm sure we'll talk about it. But I wouldn't say chaos. It's more we're just sort of finding our feet as a team with loads of new players.
I hadn't realised that about the 3-year plan. Is that that's something that's been sort of published officially and bought into?
Yeah. So 4 years ago, when Mark Stott took over, January 2020, I think it was. They set out a 7-year plan to get to the Championship. And obviously the hardest of that is to get out of National League. So we did that. And then anything beyond that was, not I want to say a bonus, but that's why we weren't too disappointed about beating the playoff final against Carlisle, because we kind of knew that we've got this plan, and as long as we're on course for that'd have seen us a year ahead of it, really, if if we think about it. So yeah, there's another 3 years, and that's what we've done. I know, and that's why we've gone on a different path to you lot, because I think you're doing really, really well, because you've invested really, really well with experienced players. You can see that we've just gone young, and it's telling in some of the displays that we've been putting out.
Well, hopefully you can develop them, and then we can come in and buy them next season off you.
Possibly, you'll win the Champions League by that point, I'm sure.
It's funny though, you mentioned that about being a bonus and stuff, because even now, still, I find it hard to get out of the mindset of I'm just happy to be here. Like I was in the Valley in Charlton, and I was just like, this is great. Like we've drawn, but who cares? Like it was great. Anyway, Tim, do you have some questions?
Yeah, first of all, Russ, good to see you, mate. Been a while. Where are you exactly? It looks like you're in some sort of heavenly social club. It's just like
no, I'm in my County Arms bar, but I've just renovated it, so I've had a new floor put in. It's all the stuff's come down, so a lot of it's all going to go back up. Yeah,
nice, happy days. How are you finding life in League One? If you take the bookended results we've just mentioned, the 2-5-0s, how have you been not pleasantly surprised by the way the team have acclimatized? How are you finding League One overall? Did I say League Two before? I meant League One, but just in terms of the overall standard, what's the noticeable differences for you?
I'm personally, I'm really enjoying it. I think this is where in the pyramid, the top end of this division, it starts to get proper serious, and you start to get the proper football for me. And you start to get the big clubs as well. Birmingham, Charlton, Barnsley, Bolton, all these big clubs who get 20,000 a week or whatever. They get 15, 20,000, all that kind of stuff. So I really like this division. As I say, it's where the football at the top end is proper for me. I've been surprised at how we've acclimatized, but then when I look at Mansfield and yourselves, it's kind of not surprising at the same time. Mansfield have got a really experienced squad, so I can see they're sort of wily characters, and Nigel Clough's a really obviously decent manager as well. I know you've just beat them, but I'm sure it wasn't an easy victory. But yeah, I really like it, and the away days are so good, aren't they? I mean, like you say, going to these teams, it's almost a disappointment when you have to go to Stevenage or Crawley, because you get the dregs of League Two, but you do get those. It feels like a National League again all over, doesn't it? But then when you play Birmingham away, we've got them in a few weeks, so that'll be good for us. And yeah, I'm just enjoying it. And I tell you what else I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying not being bothered about the Bristol Street Motors thing. It's just we're sort of like the favourites now, aren't we? Because we're in the top tier of that competition, if you like. And then also, almost I'm enjoying being favourites to get to the FA Cup third round, because the big teams don't come in until the third round, so that's nice as well. That's if we don't get beat by Brackley in the second round, because
you had to rub it in, Russ, didn't you? You had to rub it in with the FA. You knew what you were doing. Right, before I head back to Tim, can I just ask one question? 2 words. I don't trust him. Louis Barry. How good is he, and how the hell is he back at you? Surely he should be in the Championship at least, shouldn't he?
Yeah, I think he should be. Yeah, absolutely. He's just unbelievably good. I think when we played you at the end of last season, and I was there for that as well. I've never been to Wrexham and seen us actually pick up a point yet. But I don't know if you agree with this, but I thought that we had the better of the first half, and when we took Barry and Powell off, it just flipped. It flipped on its head. Louis Barry he's just so good. He's got 10 goals this season already. I think he's the division's top scorer, is he? He might be, or he's definitely up there. He's just so good. He should be at the Championship. I think the reason why we got him back is because last season his stay with us was cut short because of the injury that he got, and he only just came back to play the last few games. And I think he wanted to sort of finish something off with us. Excuse me. And I think Aston Villa trust us with him, and he wanted to come back to us as well. I think he likes the place. So So that I think that all those things considered, I think that's why he wanted to come back. But we're so glad he's back because he's so good. He really is, as you know.
That brings me on to the key players aspect. I think you've already just pointed out the obvious one. I was going to say any weaknesses that Wrexham could look to exploit. I was going to say Courtney. Is it Courtney Adai, the goalkeeper? But I think he was hooked for Hinchliffe, wasn't he, for the Bolton game? Which I think there was a clamour for the old head to come back and goal, wasn't there?
Yeah. So on which game was it? I can't remember which game, but he was took off at half time. Corey Adai, a couple of games ago. Then he was put back in for the 5-0 against Wickham. And then he was taken out and we went with Hinchliffe, for Saturday. We're probably, I don't know, it's a toss-up, it's 50-50. I'd say he'll go with Hinchliffe for Saturday. Is he a weakness? Possibly. It depends. We like to play, Challoner likes to play out from the back, and that's why he's got Corey Adai in there, because he's so good with his feet. Not so good at stopping the ball going in the back of the net.
Not so good with his hands.
So, but Hinchliffe's he's just a legend at the club. So he definitely put him back in for Bolton because he knew he needed a reaction from Tuesday. It'd have got the crowd up, which it did, and it played into all of that. I suspect he'll do the same for Wrexham on Saturday, because you'll sell out your allocation. It will be perceived as a big game. It's probably going to be a sellout. So I think he'll probably go with Hinchliffe. Other weak areas, I was going to say Ibu. He's kind of been earmarked as our weakness. He plays at left centre back or left back, depending on what system we play. But he's actually been one of our better players this season. So yeah, the weakness we'll have is if we don't turn up, you'll win at a canter. But if we turn up and the crowd are again, we're all backing the team, and it's a bit of a raucous atmosphere, and there's a bit of needle, it might turn into something a bit better for us.
Interesting you say that, because obviously we're still smarting a little bit from the 5. There's a common theme with the 5-0s, the 5-0 drubbing last season, which I suppose there was semi-mitigating circumstances with Tozer losing his dad and everything else. I'd like to think it's probably not going to be as bad for us this season. That's the poison chalice right there. So you mentioned that you've invested in youth. We were obviously we have actually got younger players in the squad now, but you're right in what you're saying. There are some older, wiser heads in there to try and drive us forward as well. I mean, how many changes would you think there is for this clash compared to last season? I'm just trying to get an idea of kind of the turnover of players you've had in this sort of time that's passed since we last played you at your place.
Yeah, there's been quite a few. It's probably going to be a team that you I won't say don't recognise, but there's definitely more than half of them you're going to say, I didn't know they didn't know they had him, but it's a different player to the team that played last season. So Jack Diamond is in there as well. We've got Ollie Norwood. Again, he's one of the old. He's the exception. He's one of the older ones that we brought in. Jaden Fevrier from Colchester, Jay Mingy from Colchester. We've got Michael Mellon, who's sort of on the periphery, or sort of on the bench. He's not really caught much game time because of injury. He's been injured. We've got Hughes and Connolly at the back. Corey Adai in net. So there will be players that you recognise, like our own genius from Wales, Macaulay Southam Hales. He'll be playing, I'm sure, and Ryan Rydell, and you'll know Wootton, obviously. Barry, Will Collar will play. He's been brilliant for us. So it's kind of 50. I think probably 60-40, 60% of them. You probably fresh faces to you.
Wow.
Russ, you sort of mentioned that your Torre could be left centre back or could be left back. How often do you change the system, and do you do it sort of dependent on who the opposition are? Will you match us as a 3-5-2?
Not sure if we'll match you. Charlie tends to go with the team that he thinks will win it and base his shape on that. I think we played more wing backs than we have flat back four. Torre himself has played right centre back as well, even though he's left footed and usually plays left centre back. So it just depends. I don't know what analysis they'll do this week, but it's kind of 50-50 for us whether he plays 4 at the back or 5 at the back. It just depends on who we've got ready in terms of personnel. So Saturday it was 5 at the back because we had Maka and Rydell back. They're 2 bombing wing backs. He wanted to get at them and get the crowd going, and that's what those 2 players will do. But if he's expecting more of a cagey game with possession based, then he'll probably play 4 at the back, and Torre will be out at left back. So it just depends because we can switch it up.
Russ, I don't know how much you've seen of Wrexham's season so far, but just intrigued to get your view on it as an outsider looking in.
I've not been surprised how well you've done, to be honest, because once you get that momentum, it can really carry on, and you've bolstered as well, and there's no secret about sort of the path that you're on. I still think we're on the same path, National League to League Two, and now I think we're going on different timelines. I jokingly, semi-seriously tweeted Phyllis in Devotion X account saying you'll be in the Champions League by a certain point. You know what I mean? Because you've got this new billionaire investor again on top of what you've already got, haven't you? So I think we're on different paths. But outside looking in, yeah, it's a difficult one. I don't want to say circus with all the Hollywood stuff, but there is. I think there is a bit of an element of that because you demand sellout crowds wherever you go. That's testament to sort of the way that Rob and Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, I don't want to call them by their first names because I don't know them, but but yeah, they've obviously driven that through the business model that they've got, which is it can only be applauded for me. I mean, there's ways of doing things, isn't there? And the way that they've done it's really, really good. So how long it'll last, I don't know. It looks good for you. What I would hate for to happen is you get all the way to the promised land. There was talk of a 50,000 seater stadium. I don't know if you can sustain that, and you don't want to be in an empty shell. I was sat, actually, what was it? I think we've spoke about this before, but I'll just quickly repeat it. I was in a supporters direct meeting in 2012 when we were going through the Maya, and I was on the supporters cooperative board trying to look at ways we could protect our own club. And around the table, there was Wrexham fans there from a Wrexham supporters trust as well. And they were concerned, and it's for fans like yourselves and those types of people where I really, really hope it works for you. And it doesn't, the bubble doesn't burst and we're left with nothing. I'm sure it won't come to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that probably echoes one or two things other Wrexham fans have raised when we talk about things like a 50,000 seater stadium. I think there's a lot of us who see that as not pie in the sky, but just how would you sustain filling that sort of thing. I also think it's interesting you talk about 2 different journeys, because at the back of my mind, I'm not expecting us to get promoted this season, but hypothetically speaking, if we did, I do wonder if where we are at the moment, we could potentially just come back down, possibly, because, like you say, you're investing in younger players and getting a certain system of play in place, whereas I don't know that our style of play would necessarily sustain itself into the Championship. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I don't know. I hear this like parky ball terrorist football. I'm not really sure it's like that, but from our point of view, yeah, we've invested in youth. Our average age has come down massively, and we've just appointed a 21-year-old captain. The reason why I say we're on different paths is because we're kind of spring loading ourselves for this 3-year sort of plan. And I think it feels from the outside looking in, you're trying to steamroller your way through, which is fine. There's just different ways of doing it. So I think we're looking for spring loading ourselves for that. When we get to the Championship, we'll be able to stay there because we'll have invested in youth, or say youth, you know what I mean, sort of early 20s, and then they can drive value once we get there and sell them on. That's the model that Mark Stott wants to go for, and everything around that. So we've got our Cat 3 Academy that's one tick box away from being Cat 2. We get all the, let's call them dregs from United and City, from their Cat 1 academies. They come into us because they don't have to move, and it's a good catchment area. And he's invested in everything else, and we've got our plans for our ground as well, which will match our rise to the Championship. And that's us, and it feels like we're taking this season, definitely, it's almost like one step back to do 2 steps forward. Whereas I think you guys, Wrexham, you are just going forward all the time. And if you build on that, and again with your new investor, I don't know how much they'll plough in, but that just means you'll just keep on going further. And I expect you to be in the Championship before us.
Who needs youth when you can sign 32-year-old John Daddy Bodvarsson on a free?
This is it. Yeah, he
This
was
is
really
it,
good, actually.
exactly.
Yeah, he was really good in the Bristol Street Motors last season against us. He just towered above us. So I don't know what he's been like for you, but yeah, he was really, really good against us last season.
Yeah, not seen much of him yet, have we, Tim? But we're hoping we'll see a bit more of him on Tuesday night in the game, in the cup we really care about.
Yeah, he'll probably start that one, won't he? But yeah, can't wait to see more of him. I suppose we should start doing predictions. I guess I think we've covered most topics. I'm still interested to see you thinking that we'll be in the Championship before you. I see what you're saying. I see the angle, but I think most Wrexham fans, despite the current position after this period of games so far, not expecting the wheels to fall off, but certainly I think the idea of us being competitive, we were happy with that. But I think anything top 7 or above would be a massive bonus. I think everybody was saying, well, mid-table, consolidate as the word, was the buzzword. Go again next season, because we have brought in some younger players as well. Maybe not as many as you guys, but we've got Fowl, we've got Conquo, Max come through the academy, so that there is a sprinkling of youth there. So yeah, interesting to hear you say that. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Maybe you should stick a bet on that so you get to there first. I don't know. Be very interesting. Anyway, let's do predictions. Russ, as you're our special guest, we will come to you first.
Really tough, because we've just been slapped 5-0 and then battered Bolton 5-0. I'm gonna go for a narrow 2-1 win for us, purely based on the fact that I think you don't travel very well. I know I might be right. I know you do struggle away more than you. The race course, the Kairos, is like a fortress for you. So if you're going to drop points, it's probably away from home. We'll have I think the crowd will be up for it on Saturday, and Charlie will play into that with his team selection. I'm sure he will, and he'll make sort of little tweaks that get us up for it. So yeah, I think based on that, we're going to edge it. But then I'm being positive, and I can't come on here and say we're going to draw or lose.
Rhys, do you wanna go next?
It's funny because I was about to say I'd felt like we've slightly shaken off the away day blues thing, but then we lost to Harrogate last week. But I'm not counting that because it's the cup, so it doesn't count. But that being said, we still, we didn't win at Charlton, but I thought we played well. I thought we sort of controlled the game a lot more than I've seen us sort of do that away from home. But yeah, really difficult one to call this. I have no idea. I'm gonna say 1-1 and a proper ding dong. So hopefully so.
Andy?
I think it depends really. I think if we go away from home and the team that we're playing are like us, as in not like a real possession-based football team, but more up and at them, I think we tend to do well. I think we struggle a little bit more if the team are like, I don't know, playing it out at the back, and our strikers are struggling to close the space down. I feel that we struggle a little bit more there away from home. Right, saying that, again, I was going to go 1 each, but I think I might go 0-0. I think it might just be, we might just nullify each other. And yeah, I think if you can go away from home and get a draw and win your home games, you're going to go up. So yeah, I'll take a draw all day long.
Any of us gone for a win yet?
Go on, Liam.
I'd like to say I'm gonna break that cycle and go for a win, but I've got to stick to what I predicted originally, which was 2-2. I think I am actually confident that we can start to get a couple more goals on the road, but I do also think that Stockport have got the players there to hurt us. So a 2-2 draw I'd be happy enough with that.
I forgot to mention, actually, it was Parky's 150th league game the other day, and that takes him to 94 wins. So I got a nice feeling that league game 151 will result in a 95th win. And I'm going to say it's going to lie somewhere between a 5-0 win and a 5-0 defeat for you guys. So I'm going to hit smack bang in the middle and go for a 3-1 win to us with Bodvarsson sealing it with the third, scene as you've mentioned in Russ. I just think, well, maybe there's some sort of something poetic about the big Icelandic man coming on and towering above these younger lads, as you've said. So, and we haven't won at Stockport since 2012, so we're kind of a long overdue. It's been that long, yeah, been a long.
I was going to say, if Parky's at 150, Challingham can't be far off that. Can he, Russ? Was he even more? I'm not sure. Was he there before Parky?
No, well, I don't know. I don't know actually the timings. Charlie was late October 2021, I think.
Okay, so slightly after then, right?
Yeah,
yeah, far off it.
Not far off. And one thing actually that makes me, now that Andy has mentioned it, nullifying each other, neither of them are going to want to lose that game. I think there's a nice, healthy professional rivalry there now that's understandably developed, I think, probably over the last few seasons. And I don't think either of them will want to lose. So it might be a bit cagey, certainly to start with.
Yeah, could be. I mean, you mentioned, not doing too well against possession-based football. We have been possession-based. We have been possession-based for a lot of this season, but on Saturday, he went the opposite. It was more direct. It was more intense. His saying is intensity is our identity. I think our possession was 36%, and we absolutely battered Bolton. So again, just another thing we can. Yeah. He will switch it up if he thinks he's going to get a result.
Sorry,
so two teams who don't want the ball, basically. Sorry, go on.
No, I'm just saying. Do you agree with me on that we struggle a little bit more away from home against a possession-based side? I just sort of feel that Bolton we hung on a little bit. Charlton, who were a little bit more direct, we matched them and more than matched them. I think the anomaly is really Stevenage, where again they were very like us and beat us. But I just think we had an off day there. I don't know. Maybe
Peterborough possession based, aren't they though? And we were quite comfortable without the ball there. 3-0.
But
I'm not sure. I know what you're trying to say. I think when teams play a bit like we do, we tend to get the upper hand on them, probably because we've got the super play in that way. But yeah, I'm not sure. Don't know how I feel about it.
As an aside, I'm gonna choose "Intensity Is Our Identity" as the name of my next album. I just think that's genius.
Second album,
or the
eponymous first album,
or the subtitle to the podcast. Yeah, you can mention it at the Football Association Awards, whatever it is, Tim.
Well, yeah, for go. I mean, you're all busy, so I'm not going on with Billy.
I'm in New Zealand. I'm not coming back for that.
No, it's fine. I'll just go down and eat 2 dinners and get drunk.
If they see this earlier on in this episode, anyway, some of our technical capabilities, I don't think we'll be winning anyway. So
Russ, somehow we've been nominated for an award. And we've proceeded to develop one of the sort of poorest sort of technical programs, podcasts in months. But still, don't watch this, judges, if you're watching. Anyway, Russ, thank you very much for joining us. I think that's all. Any last business, gentlemen? Was that it?
Is it sold out, Russ, for Saturday? Is it sold out?
I don't actually know. I'm pretty sure it will be. Yeah. I would have a high degree of confidence that it's going to be sold out.
Yeah. Happy days. No, it should be good. It should be a cracker. Hopefully not. And Andy's put the kibosh for that 0-0. It's not going to be 0-0. Surely not.
Well, let's hope not. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And do have a good day out if you're going to watch. It will hopefully be better than a drab 0-0. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Cheers. See you later.
Trump.